So I just, for the past month, it's only been a month, 2 months? About a month and a half, 2 months, we did an application to the Presidio graduate school to be involved in their experiential learning course. And it's been an incredible opportunity to work with Lily, Fritz, Devin, and Wanda, who work remotely, but just developing, kind of downloading everything about the chapter network and working with them to kind of develop plans for the future. So just going to kind of give it to them and run with a really wonderful exercise they've been spending countless hours on this week. So it's been a really great experience developing it.
Thanks, Garrett. It's been such our pleasure to work with Architecture for Humanity this semester. So it's part of our curriculum that we get to work with real organizations. So really excited to get to talk with you all here live. To give you just a little background on what Presidio Graduate School is that we are a graduate school just for business and government to be about sustainability. So how do we redesign the social structures that we have, and how do we do that so it's better for the environment and better for people? So we do a lot of systems thinking and design thinking and development of leadership competencies. How do we manage and facilitate the change that we all want to see? So Fritz is going to explain a little bit about how we got into this project in particular. It's part of our strategy and finance class.
Where is it? Someone tell me where it is.
Okay, so anyway, in partnering with AFH, we're seeking to improve headquarters operations with the chapters and how they interact with the chapters. So we came up with a problem statement, and basically this summarizes what is the best relationship that headquarters can have with the chapters, where the chapters the whole organization can thrive in terms of either centralized or decentralized approach from headquarters. And Thrive consists of financial solvency as well as a committed partnership between headquarters and the chapters, and a feeling among members and volunteers where they have pride in the organization and are happy with what the organization represents.
So, the agenda for today is, we know it's been a long conference, but it sounds like it's been a really exciting, positive one. So we want to spend some time giving you an update on the work that we've done and soliciting some feedback from you, because we're about midway through the project, and so we want to do a check-in. Are we on the right track? Have we heard you right? And then secondly, we're going to facilitate a little bit of local chapter visioning and goals, and then we're going to end with a gift circle, which is a needs sharing circle. So that's sort of the next hour, and hopefully it will launch you into fun conversations for drinks afterwards. So just to give you a little idea of how we're approaching this project, strategy is about deciding what to do, right? But more specifically, it's deciding among all of the problems that you have and all of the issues that you could address, which one, if you address, launches you in the direction that you want to go. So we have been spending time figuring that out, because it's really about identity. Oh, the thingy, yeah. It's really about identity. Who are you? And then where do you want to go? And then once you understand that, then you can decide on key actions. Sorry, I have my notes on my phone. Too many objects to juggle. So this is a quote that we've kind of been orienting around. If I had an hour to save the world, I'd spend 55 minutes defining what the problem is, and then 5 minutes finding the solution. So our process to date, Fritz is going to let you know just what we've been up to.
So far we've been researching the chapters and interviewing chapter leaders, as well as researching outside organizations that are similar to AFH and interviewing personnel within those organizations. And through this research and these interviews, we're starting to track the stories and the themes that are emerging. And we are starting to take notes of all these patterns. And in addition, we've been doing active scenario planning and SWOT analysis. And we've also been conducting business model canvases, just so that we can best understand the perspective everybody's coming from and see how they can better engage with stakeholders. And so that's pretty much been our process so far.
And what we have seen is that this organization is an incredible one, doing amazing grassroots work and so committed, doing work outside of your jobs. And we've also seen that the organization as a whole is at a really interesting place historically. You've hit the 15-year mark, your co-founders have stepped down, you've just recently hired the lovely Garrett. More chapters are popping up, more potential for larger grants, and an increasing diversity of programs like the resiliency centers and other things. So historically the chapter has been an emergent network more than a planned network, but it feels like now is a moment where you want to transition into a different level of organization about what you're doing and how. So in that effort, we've identified some key areas for growth, and this is the part that we want to ask for your sort of help and feedback on. So we have 4 buckets up here on the wall and 1 for what's missing. I'm going to just run through what the buckets are, and then we're going to ask you to talk with someone next to you for a few minutes about whether these are the right buckets, if there's anything missing, and which ones are the most sort of resonant for your chapter. So bucket number 1, membership fees. Essentially, as they're structured right now, they don't seem to work that well because they're not in alignment with local chapter funding goals, so you kind of have to, if you're getting people to be paid members, have them be paid members and also support the local chapter, and they're not sort of aligned and connected. And 2, there's no clear difference for what you get for being a paid member, so that can be a difficulty that some of you have. Secondly, communication regarding larger donors. Right now there's no clarity about how that happens between national and chapters, so what that means is sometimes relationships get fumbled, and that can be in events or that can be in potential for grants or things like that. And it feels like there's a real need and a want for figuring that out. And we recognize that there are some legal issues around what information can be shared with whom, and there's also some sort of social structure issues about what has happened in the past and clarity around how that communication is supposed to happen. Thirdly, recognizing and clarifying value exchange. This one is kind of the mushiest, if you will, but I think what we see is great work happening both on headquarters side and on the chapter side, but sometimes a disconnect between what the other thinks the other is providing in terms of value, and a sense that both want more from the other, and what is actually expected is sometimes not clear. And then fourthly is network infrastructure and that's sort of to support cross-chapter communication and knowledge sharing, because a lot of you have developed great tools. I think you were talking about toolkits even earlier today. Great tools, great resources, best practices, but there's no structural way to share them. So that's sort of the fourth one. So I would love, does anybody have any questions about those buckets before we sort of take a little discussion? Jennifer, do you have a question? No, that was just a pen raise. Great. So just turn to someone next to you and discuss for just a couple of minutes, are these the hot topics? Are these the things that are resonant for your chapter? And then we'll sort of hear back from the little groups. So is there a group that wants to sort of share some of what you talked about first?
Well, this is quite a few things to share, and I was very interested to hear from Tina just now, something that we weren't aware of, and that chapters that have more than 20 paid members get some money back into their chapter. But Garrett, does this work? Does this actually work in practice? Because as far as we know, we have never had any funds back into our chapter, and we have more than 20 signed up members to the website.
What is it, paying members?
Paid members.
I don't think I'm pretty sure no chapters have over 20.
We do. But the other thing is, if that's the case, it becomes an incentive for local chapters to encourage more members, which in turn will benefit HQ if funds can come back into chapters. Because New York chapter and we were talking about ways to maybe bump up a super membership, so that money, the $25 goes to HQ every year, but we actually charge a little bit more and offer some kind of package of benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're already giving half of the membership money back to the chapter, then that wouldn't necessarily be the case, because it would be up to the chapter to offer extra benefits for a member. But it would be quite a good thing. Is that?
So that's great to hear that we've hit on something that is something that can be developed further. So that's perfect. Do you guys have another item?
One more thing. I think it would be really helpful to know too, just as part of how we're communicating this to our volunteers, not just what did the volunteers get, but how does it, what is AFH headquarters actual cost? Like, what is the $25? How did that come about? Why is that the number? Does it have to do with kind of overhead costs that takes for you guys to manage our account? Like, what is it that we operate so autonomously in some ways and that's something we need to work on, but I think it's just
I'm gonna address this really quickly. So I'm happy to talk all night about it. But yeah, I mean, it is in the agreement that over 20 dues-paying members, the rest of the funds do go back to the chapter. And it is that account, that funding, for headquarters is all the operational costs to maintain the chapter network. And again, I can get into that more with you later. But that is also kind of part of the strategic business plan that we're trying to figure out, trying to develop. Is that the most efficient model? Is that the best model to get, the most operating costs for the chapter and headquarters? So, it's true, but it might not be the best for either situation right now. So that's something that, the team is working on right now. I'm more than happy to talk about all that after.
I know it's tantalizing to bring up problems but not talk about solutions, but it's really great just to hear the themes for now. So one of the things we are working on is running some numbers on projections and things like that regarding membership fees and different ways it could be structured. So another group want to take the mic. What did you talk about in your groups?
So our group agreed that those buckets seem like the right ones. We thought a couple might need to be expanded. The communication regarding larger donors, I think that could also include communication regarding long-term plans and what role the chapters may or may not play in that, and also just communicating so that there's not duplication of efforts. And I think the other one again had to do more with funding and what are the methods of funding, traditionally grants and donations, but is there another answer out there? Again, not a solution, just a question.
Good question.
So our discussion actually, interesting, like the connection between it kind of ended up that way of some of these buckets, but kind of going off of what you were talking about with membership fees, just the idea of adding like $25 on an annual basis really isn't that much money. And when I signed up as a paid member, it was in my mind more of like a donation to the organization that I supported at the time, like being a volunteer. But so the idea of making more aware of the benefits of signing up and being a paid member on the website, and then also kind of going into the value of exchange. If there was like an extra tab or something that popped up or something that you had access to as a paid member that then connected you to the other local chapters, because today I'm realizing how extremely valuable it is to communicate and get ideas and brainstorm with other local chapters. So I think that would be a tremendous asset to have like the like a Facebook feed or like a blog or something that you can communicate, maybe posted projects. Like we talked about earlier, like if you have a project, maybe you have it posted and say, oh, this took 6 months of planning and X amount of fundraising dollars and so much overhead. So then another chapter can see that and say, that's a great idea. I think we want to do that, or maybe we'll do a mini version or something like that. So it was kind of a mix, I guess.
Okay, so our group was talking a little bit about that first slide where it said, this is a decentralized network, or is it a centralized network? And one of our group members brought up the question about, have we communicated to all of the chapters who aren't here today? And are they going to be able to sort of communicate with us moving forward? So that I guess would be the middle two. Yeah, and then also value exchange. Did I catch all of it?
That's cool. You ready to come back there? Okay, beautiful. So there are lots of problems that we can talk about and lots of great development that can happen. Let's say some of that does happen. What is your greatest hope for the network? Just think about it for a minute, and then we have some Post-its. You can write down some ideas. And then if anybody has one on the top of their mind, we'd love to just collect them here. So. Anybody have an easy answer on that one? Let's say some of this stuff was worked out. What would be your greatest hope 5 years from now?
I would say that the optimum goal in a dream world would really have each chapter be a small firm. be self-sustaining and be doing work that aligns with the goals and ideals that we all have as part of being AFH.
I think that's a really good idea because I think a lot of people feel that they need, I mean, we feel very much so that we need a physical base. And a lot of chapters don't actually have a physical base. And I think to sustain a chapter and to grow a chapter, it's very difficult to do it for the long term on a strictly voluntary basis, which New York has described. There's burnout if you're doing it on top of your paid job. So it would be great to be able to have some paid streams. So I agree with DC.
I agree.
I'd like to see the network become kind of like as reliable resource for like, you know, inspirational projects as like Design Boom or something like that. People are like, man, I want to go to the Czech network and see what kind of cool shit people are thinking right now, and you know, getting built and reliability.
It's like a destination kind of.
Yeah.
I guess my hope would be thriving, synergistic, unleashing of the forces. So like headquarters just like streamlining and throwing things back out there, and then chapters they're inspiring each other, and there's a lot of just leveraging of other talents, and so it feels like a global community of and really like so much of the effort that's going out is really targeted, and you know, it just improves everybody's efficiency to do really what they love to do and not the stuff they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that it does work like a network. You know, if I remember Cameron saying, if we were like a company, we could be like the largest architectural firm in the world. You know, if we put that into work and realize that we could be like a global company, I think we can like achieve a lot of things. Like if I need something, I can call anyone on the network to do so. We can participate in competitions around the world with different located professionals. I don't know.
So to sort of realize the potential of the interconnections.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Anybody else?
I guess I don't need a microphone, but
Can't tell if we're going to talk for a long time.
I guess this is maybe an idea that's a little bit out there, but it would be great to also be able to start looking at a research component to the network that also does gets into research for policy and advocacy in the areas in which we're working, and maybe also does some research on management best practices, development best practices, that sort of component. And you see that in a lot of the very large nonprofits that are doing aid work these days.
I think there are some other ideas. Any last ones? And then we love to collect any post-its you've written down, or if you want to share any post-its.
I was talking about kind of regional support and collaboration too, kind of having like, I would love to see something happen with like West Coast chapters and
Regional hubs.
Yeah. Because our problems in fact are the same problems as Seattle's in a lot of ways, and vice versa, and like California. So
Do you have anything more from online?
Well, yes, I actually did have Kathleen saying she agrees with Beth. Oh wow, she's writing a whole bunch. Yes, she has a bucket saying include software share across network.
That's right, it's run as well.
Spending too much time together.
A great code, real-time cross-chapter working. She keeps real-time cross-chapter working and utility skills. Utilizing skills, rather. Utilizing skills. Yeah, I think
that's about it. Let me just pick up on it. Come back. Beautiful. Thanks, Tina. So the potential that we really see is how do you connect the local goals to the national goals, and how can national be a facilitator of all the great work that you guys want to do? So for this sort of second half, we thought we would go into local goals specifically. So, you know, there's a lot of things that can happen with the network and making that work better. But for your local chapter, we'd like for you to think for just a minute about your chapter's recent successes and then your goals. And then we'd like to, if possible, share those quickly, because we want to group people into small groups of 3 to 4 that have similar goals. So it may be that everybody has similar goals, and in which case we'll cross that bridge. But it also may be that people share some very specific goals and particular challenges for your context right now. So maybe just take 2 minutes and think about that for just a second, and then when you're ready, just kind of look up at me and let me know. And then we're going to share to form groups. Does that make sense?
Are you sure? Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Does everyone have Post-its? What are we doing? Post-its?
Which means that they hope to see Australia as a regional hub.
Australia as a regional hub, as a hope for the network. your chapter's goals?
To run like a sustainable business. To run like a sustainable business, even if we're not receiving salaries for the work.
What happens if there are if there are multiple goals that are shared?
Choose one to talk about for now. Yeah, just choose one to talk about for the next 10 minutes. You can definitely have multiple goals.
One of ours, in addition to the self-sustaining chapter, is kind of having a recurring or continuous project flow that's not dependent on them just falling into our laps or on our doorstep, but something that we can be confident in our ability to self-generate projects and to kind of know where to go to find that kind of pool of projects.
Could you guys hear her in the back? Yeah. So generating projects and being a self-sustaining firm.
One of our goals is to get more people excited about humanitarian design so that we can increase our chapter membership.
So like larger community engagement and excitement about humanitarian design. You're just getting that's perfect. So that's 3 groups. Is there a 4th major goal out there?
Our goal would be to kind of increase the management, organization, and capacity of our chapter. Organizational structure.
Ours kind of actually goes along with that, but to develop it, just because our chapter's been around for a while in Seattle, but we have new structure of leadership. So just to develop that in terms of trying to determine our structure and then how to best benefit AFH in Seattle.
Does everybody fit into one of those buckets, or are there other ones?
I'm not sure. It's possible it sort of goes along with looking for projects, but before we sort of look for projects, we want to identify our regional mission statement and what the needs are of the communities locally. So maybe that's part of that process.
So go to the location that you heard the goal that best fits your chapter, and then want to discuss for just, we can do, and kind of discuss a little bit about how will you know that you've succeeded in that goal? How are you going to measure it? So let's see. We want to recap what it was over here?
Generating projects and kind of knowing that those projects fit the mission. Kind of what we're trying to do.
The flow of projects, excitement about humanitarian design, community engagement, self-sustaining chapter network, organizational structure. So are those kind of similar? Or do you want to be separate?
Yeah, it's similar.
And then regional mission statement.
Yeah, we could probably combine yours.
And break. Yeah.
So they can actually sign up for website. I don't know, as like a student, I might be like intimidated to go on there. Like, well, like, say, or I might get like, oh, so it's just I love the idea of just kind of like having that car package. Have it packaged together.
Just drop it down and then leave it on the
Because there's something to be said about getting broader experience into somebody else
but rolling membership.
I've done this. Even for me, the job came up like that.
I think that's part of something like that. Why we need to build organizational structure. We're not able to do that yet because we don't have the infrastructure. We're regular job. Even for Chicago, you kind of struggling with this ourselves. We do so much, which is very difficult to sometimes
People and information and also disseminate all the information that we need to get to it. Like, your binder. We don't have we do now, but we haven't. And it's been like on a big wish list of things. And it's, it's really difficult for us to do all the projects that we do, plus make all that stuff. And it's like, most of us are architects who would much rather not do all of that kind of like making manuals and right, but it's also difficult to have an intern who is not familiar with the organization because it takes a month or two to get ingrained in what we do and to kind of get it. And then, they're left with, if it's a summer, they're left with very limited time to like actually do productive work. And also, once again, we want them to be able to get something out of it, not just make stuff for us. And so it's like it's actually a really difficult situation. And so that's why it's been like, oh, 6 years and we don't have any resources for ourselves or for anybody else. So like that's definitely on our to-do list of like manuals, member manuals, and manuals for our leader and manuals for our projects, and for the board members. How do we that's what like a website.
about what the themes were in your group, and then these conversations can be ongoing, of course. So does the one group want to go first? What were the themes that you talked about in your group? There's a lot of talking just now, so you know you have something to say.
Hanging out, or?
It's a lot, but just a little bit of what you talked about. Doesn't have to be everything. Just a sense. Remind us which group you are.
Like mission alignment and project generation, and it is basically approaching projects more as systems or programs. The way that it was introduced this afternoon, it will allow a single effort to be a catalyst for multiple efforts in the future.
Somebody else? Something essential that came from your group?
We were the self-sustaining business group, and we were talking about how difficult it is to strike a balance between providing a service for those who cannot afford it, and still trying to make some sort of money. If someone figures that out, please let us know.
Great.
So we're the chapter development group. So we had essentially kind of 3 ideas of how we could possibly do that, and one was just creating a mentorship between chapters, and whether that's through visitations or involving in conference calls or phone calls or emails or something, so they can see, if they're curious how something works in that chapter, they can see how that's done, and then to create packages that would kind of market to the universities so that they know that there's internship possibilities available for the chapter, and then also kind of what we touched on earlier, just creating documentation templates, maybe like having a Dropbox, essentially Garrett right now, and then HQ can turn that into like a template for everyone else to kind of streamline all of the chapters' workload, I guess.
Funny enough, with outreach, some of the things overlap as far as developing a template, or in a sense, to be able to effectively market to the possible partner, well, not just partners, but people that will be interested in tabulating what we're doing and making people excited about being involved in it, making it fun, making it lively, meeting places being selected effectively. The fact that in Chicago our chapter meetings are held in a bar, and for that to be an after hours type of thing, it actually works, and many times, because people are more relaxed about going to a happy hour type of event thing, and we still do give a slideshow presentation at many of our meetings and run down what's going on with our projects. So people are there having a drink, learning about what's going on, and it's just a feel-good type of thing, and we do get people involved. I mean, we have a dozen projects that are fully staffed, many times, so it's an effective tool. And then, what was the last thing? I know she made notes.
Getting more than getting cash flow, or getting more members than 25 or 20. Like maybe having funds flow, right?
Yeah. Oh, and then the other thing that we have begun to do with outreach is to diversify who we're reaching out to. We have the snack and learn thing that, just an example, we went to a snack and learn at SOM, and SOM can offer us engineers and stuff like that we didn't really have that kind of access to before, but that can grow what our project groups are, and then also gives another skill set and just expertise that we didn't really have, in our arsenal, that will allow us to deliver a different type of thing, larger things, and effectively starting to partner with that people with resources, capital and personal. So.
No.
Well, thank you everybody for at the end of your day engaging with us on this. We have one idea for closing circle. This is called a gift circle. So I would actually love for everyone to stand up and form a circle in here around the chairs as best as we can.
So everyone give your best thing for your life. It's up to you.
Sorry, we can move this stuff.
Circle up. Circle up.
Don't move.
I don't know where to put it.
An amoeba is acceptable. So at the beginning of the day when I said, or beginning of the hour, sorry, when I said gift circle, I saw a couple of head nods. Has anybody here done gift circles before? A couple, yeah. So the idea is that oftentimes what you need is in the room. So I would love to just go around the circle and have everybody say for your chapter, what is one need that your chapter has? And you can make it something that potentially somebody else in this room has. So that could be something tangible like a toolkit or a resource or a contact. It can also be aspirational, and that's fine. It's really good to just state things that you need as well. So we'll close the day on that. Since you're right here, I'm going to pass the mic to you, milady.
All right. Well, I'm kind of a weird case to start with, but a need that I have, I recently switched chapters, and so I love talking about setting up chapters and doing the behind-the-scenes systems stuff, and I'd love to talk to chapters who are emerging and just want to brainstorm about how they could possibly build their chapter well. It's a thing that I personally would love to do.
Beautiful. So let's pause there for a second and say that was an offer. And take note, is anybody like to take her up on that offer?
Seattle.
Here, make eye contact, talk to each other after this.
I think I would like Chicago chapter to have increased operational funding. I've been spoiled by having a managing director, and I'd like to continue to have a managing director.
And just pause and say, does anybody have a direct idea or something they want to talk to him about afterwards? And just kind of raise your hand and make eye contact.
$10,000.
Just pause for a second and then pass the mic.
I would love for the Phoenix chapter to actually be visible. We're not currently active with them. They don't appear to be particularly active with the organization, and so just to see Phoenix and Arizona by extension become a visible participant in all of this.
So is there something tangible in there that someone in this room might be able to help you with, or is that more of an aspirational need?
It may be, I don't know enough about how the system works, and so part of it may be looking at making sure that National pokes its member chapters a little bit once in a while, so that if they're not being active, there are ways for them to become active, and if they're not being active, the people who are affiliated with those chapters are aware that the inactivity might be something they could help with.
Very giving. Well, since it's the same chapter, I guess right now really what we would need is direction and coming with the people there, the goals and objectives, and how we can best fit as being part of the chapter, but also being part of another nonprofit organization. So, yeah, that's aspiration.
So for the San Francisco chapter, we are in need of a model for leadership transition, because we had a few people on our steering committee who aren't physically present anymore because they've moved or for any reason, and we just didn't have something in place to replace them. So we're kind of working on that.
I got you.
We could use that too.
Yeah, no problem.
we need money. So I, kind of answering my own question, I think probably the Chicago chapter had some really insightful things for us to learn from in terms of getting funding and working with donors and how to kind of grow our prospects here.
I don't know what to say.
Aaron needs a hug.
I just want to be the best damn filter for all of you as possible and funnel all this into the most productive network of disruptive but, you know, revolutionary design platform. And that's, I don't know. Who wants to help out?
I think what I would like for New York is a home base. We're constantly in flux and we're always moving, and that's always fun. But I think we need an anchor, and I think a home base, even if it was just 4 walls that we could pin up on, and it's always the same 4 walls that surround us, I think that would be very healthy for the group. So I think home base. That's what Are you offering your house?
No, I just have an idea for you.
Okay, cool.
You want me to Seattle?
It's a bit of a commute. I don't know.
So I'm also with the New York chapter. My idea, what I would like is not very sexy, but I would like a system for evaluation so that we can get some real hard metrics and use that to solicit funds.
I apologize, I need to catch a ferry, but Becca's going to update you on Portland's needs. Meeting everybody.
Bogota chapter needs to build an inter-chapter or simultaneous chapter project.
So for the London chapter, I think it's been really valuable kind of coming over here and seeing all the other chapters and kind of having conversations about lessons learned, what we can learn from you and what you can learn from us. So building that communication after this with all the different chapters, it can feel quite isolating being on the other side of the Atlantic. So yeah, building relationships.
I agree with Cameo in London. I was really struck by how some of the chapters, particularly Chicago, have made relationships with local government on different levels and have been very proactive in finding projects, developing, instigating projects. And I think this would be something that I would like London to be more active. And we also need a little base.
I guess I don't really have a chapter right now.
Imagine one.
I imagine
You
need
a chapter.
I need a chapter. I don't think I need a chapter. But I guess it would be interesting to find a place maybe for like managing directors or directors who've transitioned out or moved away from their base. Like I don't necessarily want to start projects again. I don't necessarily want to be on the board right now, but like how can I contribute, or what is there after you've sort of hit this level? Like what's next?
You can advise us. So as I mentioned earlier, the DC chapter is really at a turning point where we're ready to take our organizational structure to the next level. So I am looking for assistance in that. I know Rachel's been very generous, and if anybody else wants to help us out, it's always welcome.
So I would love ideas. Well, so Seattle chapter is having difficulties with like social media and how to use that to get volunteers, or how to communicate with current members, and whether it's through Facebook or Twitter or any, I don't know, there's a lot out there, so I'm sure I'm missing some. But if other chapters have figured out how to really use that well. Okay.
We'll give you Carl.
Okay.
I tweet everything.
I'm so new working with the AFH chapters, but I think like one big need that's missing from my organization back home in Finland, the Architects Without Borders in Finland, or the Ukumbi NGO, and I think it's communications again, a kind of like the way to communicate effectively for getting news articles and kind of, because that's it's a special profession of how like special skills in order to kind of reach the national media or even the global media, and that's really something that our organization that's only now there's only architects involved, so then that's besides the money, I think that's like one big thing that's missing. Anybody else besides Carl?
My name's Megan, and I have more of an offer. I'd love to just help out at headquarter level, rolling out any sort of system-wide, efficiencies that I can. And I also have travel privileges on an airline, so in terms of documenting any projects in the United States or elsewhere, I mean, it's something that I could do. And I've worked at a lot of like mapping social capital in large organizations and working across things. So I'd love to help out at the headquarter level and see where I could plug in and contribute.
So I'm in Seattle, and I think I mentioned before that I'm involved with Architects Without Borders, which has been in Seattle for 9 years, and we're really interested in figuring out how the development of the Architecture for Humanity chapter can coincide really nicely and synergistically and non-competitively from a funding standpoint, and actually multiply our ability to reach out to basically all of the same community. So I'd be really curious if there are other chapters who are either kind of working with that in collaboration with other organizations, or maybe New York, you've been around for so long, how you've managed to stay to grow this rather than to kind of subdivide it. I think we're really have a huge opportunity for that. So anybody?
Well, we're still figuring it out, but more than happy to brainstorm.
Yeah.
I think that's an issue a lot of people are going to have. So.
Yeah. And I think it just has so much huge potential that if you work on it too late, you're kind of screwed. So trying to figure out how to do that now, so it really leverages everybody now, rather than being like, oh, damn, we just stepped on everybody's toes, rather than knowing it in advance. Or there's no toe, there's just dancing. There's like no toe stepping. And then I want to offer, I actually have a background in gender and international development, and I've been looking at that from a design side on both how that, with the context of the design process in gender, both in international development and then also design process in kind of national domestic work. And so I just want to offer that as a content that rarely comes up in this work, yet is really critical to the effectiveness of our projects and our ability to deliver higher impact. So I offer that.
I'm Matt. I guess I'll speak on behalf of the board and what we'd ask our needs from the closing circle. And I think that's pretty much just continuing to do what has been done today. I think the biggest need right now for the chapters is just establishing a business model so that we can keep this sustainable, and so that we operate on pretty limited resources that we can devote from an HQ perspective to the chapters as a whole. And obviously you see how well those are leveraged by Garrett and the team here. So I think that the more that we can increase that and make this a sustainable business model for AFH going forward, the better off we'll be. And so that's basically having all these, continuing to have these conversations that were started today as you go back to your chapters.
Okay. I don't need money. Sorry, coming from a context where we're trying to figure out which direction to go instead of where the money is. I think for us, number one, what is badly in need is a beautifully made presentation that about Architecture for Humanity, so that that helps me tell the story of like thousands of people, and to try to get people from our country to at least raise the awareness and start to look at problems in this perspective. And another thing that I believe, even though we were not among the countries that started looking at this problem not engaged in an early stage, but I do believe I want to hear from you guys about your expectations and and also your questions about China, and how do you look at China and its development, and of course, ways that you can help, and also your expectation, most importantly, because we haven't really started yet, but any kind of advice, and what do you want to know about China in this sense, and really values to me, because we still have a chance to really start everything from zero. So it's easier for us to put it to get more from you guys, and so that we can move to a direction that's, China on one side even would develop late, but we can make some impact in a way that help you guys as well. And yeah, and what I can offer is definitely Chinese contacts. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was like if we can figure out how to get our money out of our country, but yes, definitely. And projects that actually there is a lot of responsible companies back in China that made a lot of money, and they're trying to figure out how to spend their money as well. And I can be the one that help you to screen and know exactly what's going on in that company. So I will be the one that understand the Chinese context plus speaks English. So, so the right one to get to. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I definitely need presentations. That's really badly you need. So I will be translating it. I don't need Chinese version. So anything that's beautifully done is helpful. Okay. Thank you very much.
As much as he doesn't need money, I do. No. But what we're looking at, and what we do need in Chicago, by the way, Darren, what we need is greater outreach and connections, because we're looking at diversifying our funding model and where we're actually getting these dollars from, and we're starting to have contacts with companies, and that would be good if people know about companies that are trying to, give to something like this. Would help.
Well, contrary to the other emerging chapters that are looking for ways to structure, we have a structure, but our elections are on Monday, and as far as I know, there's only one nominee for 4 positions, so one person really can't do it all by himself. So what we really need is a way to encourage members to step up and get more involved.
Well,
I can help you brainstorm on how to get more out, how to spread the word. Yeah, let's talk later.
I, as of yet, do not have a chapter, but I hope to have one soon. And so what I just have to say is I needed this. This is like super inspiring, and I just can't wait to dig in my heels and get involved. I do have some experience doing being a project leader in Peru, and I am connected to a network of volunteers who are all over the world who are super eager, and if they knew about this organization, I'm sure they'd love to get involved. So spread the word.
I guess my wish for Chicago, and it kind of extends a little bit to you guys, is to kind of be able to bring a lot more of what we've been talking about this last few days to all of our local members, because I think it's super important. I think a lot of our members don't really know that much about the organization that they're involved in. They're just really passionate about the work that we do, and I want to be able to bring a lot more to them. And as a segue, we are going to be, the AIA convention, national convention, is in Chicago next year. And Denver was super inspiring last year. It was a big party. We will be working with Garrett to organize another sort of chapter thing. So my wish is also that a bunch of people, you either come or you send somebody to that as well, so that we can do this some more and and yeah, continue this conversation, see where we've come in the next, whatever, six months or so, and keep moving.
I think from the Portland chapter, a lot of our needs, as a relatively emerging chapter, a lot of our needs were also somewhat fulfilled already by coming to this event and hearing all of the lessons learned and the ideas from everyone else. So having that contact list so that we can get back in touch with you more specifically is a very tangible thing that we need. And then similarly, having a consolidated presentation of sorts that we could disseminate to our chapter about everything that we came across today, and all the links and images all in one place would be really awesome. So I plan on doing that to some degree, so I'm happy to share that with all of you, and if you all did the same, that would be great.
Just send it to me.
Okay, so we have a few comments from our viewers outside of the room. First, Catherine from London says that they really need an office at home. So if anybody have any ideas on how to get that. She also says that Garrett is doing great. Okay, then we have Gian from Canberra, Rising Chapter. And yes, so where was this wish? Sorry. They need to see what other education advocacy programs other chapters have done in their community. I don't know if we could, I guess maybe we can get his email and so can communicate that way. Then we have Gabriel from Guadalajara, I believe. Yeah. He wishes that we'll be more careful with the AFH people at the field in other countries doing missions for AFH. Guess that, I don't know if anybody can help out with that. Yeah, Gary can help out with that. Great. Yes, and then Betsy Williams from Chicago says, come to Chicago. I hope I got all of them. Yeah, I think I did. For me, I'd like to tap in the new chapters and maybe hear a little bit about what you guys are up to.
So we need the meeting minutes from today.
It's all recorded.
Oh, okay, good. And strategic plan, someone said that they were creating or had created a process for strategic plan chapter planning.
That, so
yeah. And we need Houston members to also self-identify needs. So that's coming up, and we just want to continue encouraging that participation among our members if you're out there right now watching.
I think it'd be great to see the chapter network develop committees or delegations to kind of inter-chapter people to carry these issues forward, but beneficial.
It's all you do. Coordinate it.
Well, I'm
and we would just love any feedback or thoughts you have, and welcome any dialogue. You can get in touch with us through Garrett. But thank you all. This was really great to be here with you and learn a little bit more.
Thank you. So I like the circle. Let's just sit for a little while, but I'm going to pass the baton off to Matt for some closing statements. That'll be after. Don't worry, they got it. They got it.
No one's about to make silence.
This is. Yeah, if that's all right. Can I stand in the front? Yeah, I'm sorry if this comes off a bit scripted. I wrote a script because I'm not good at off the cuff. So I just want to first thank Garrett and the AFH staff and all the presenters today. Of course, it was a great day. And thank, of course, everyone for coming. Having worked as sorry, I should introduce myself. I'm Matt Charney. I'm the board president of Architecture for Humanity. I started as a chapter coordinator, or chapter volunteer for the New York chapter. And having worked as a chapter coordinator, sometimes I know it feels like you're a bit isolated from the rest of Architecture for Humanity, from both HQ, from the other chapters. So it's really good to get everyone in the same room from time to time. Not only to share the great work, but to understand the real network of AFH. And of course, this network extends well beyond this room. We can state the numbers: 59 chapters, 6,800 volunteers, so many members, whatever. But beyond, 14,000. But beyond the numbers, I feel like AFH is more so even just, more even than the long-established organizations, the AIs of the world. I feel like AFH really defines our generation of architects and professional designers. I'm going to sit down, if that's okay. When Kate and Cameron started the organization 15 years ago, I don't think that they had that in mind. I don't think that they had that intention of starting a movement. But that's what's happened because they identified a need and a mission that resonated with people, with designers and professionals. The idea of AFH was grassroots, it was enthusiastic, it was sexy. 15 years later, this idea of social impact design is accepted within the profession. We have competition, as Eric mentioned earlier. And as Cameron put it, the idea alone is no longer sexy. Grassroots, seat of our pants mentality, it just doesn't cut it anymore. Seeing the presentations today and hearing the conversations speaks to that. Some of the terms that I heard thrown around today and topics of conversation were knowing the strengths and weaknesses of limitations of professional volunteers, grant writing how-tos, there was risk analysis templates, and communicating measurable impacts. And what that all adds up to is a sustainable business model for delivering social impact design. And that is the new sexy at AFH. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the weekend. Hope everyone's committed to working on that sustainable business model with Presidio, fellow chapters and the team from AFH, and to see us through to the next phase of AFH. Thanks, everyone, and I hope to see you at the bar.
Now the most important announcement of the night. I'm going to invite Matt and Colleen up.
Okay, so there's this space called McCoppin Plaza, and it's at Valencia and McCoppin Street. It's probably a 10-minute walk from here. And what's going on tonight is it's a dead-end street that they're activating into a plaza, and so we're going to catch the tail end of that event. There's supposed to be a DJ there. There should be some food trucks. They have like a pop-up Christmas retail market earlier today, so maybe that's still lingering. And a few of us are going to go straight there from here. If you want to take a little bit, go home, go to your hotels or whatever, we were going to meet at the Zeitgeist at 8 o'clock. Yeah. And so the Zeitgeist is also right by the McCoppin Plaza, and that's at Valencia and DeBose, 14th, DeBose. 14th, Valencia and 14th. And that's kind of dive bar, if you will. And they have a big outside courtyard. If you want to eat there, there's like cheeseburgers and grilled cheese. That's about it. And then beer, drinks, really great Bloody Marys. And then we'll kind of be in the Mission and figured we could go out and about around there. So, and if you want cheap food, the Mission is great for cheap Mexican food on the fly. So
we'll head out of here in about 15 minutes for McCoppin, and then 8 o'clock at Zeitgeist.
Yeah, so if you want to walk to the plaza, we'll kind of congregate in here. So thanks, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you all.